I have watched people earn good money their entire lives and still die with nothing, not because they spent too much, because they believed the wrong thing about how wealth is built. Most people think you need a high salary to get rich. They are wrong. The real game is not how much you earn. The real game is what you do with the first $100 of every single month before you do anything else. During my years studying the methods of Charlie Munger and the quiet discipline behind the Berkshire model, I learned that the people who finish rich almost never started with big numbers. They started with a rule: stay with me. By the end, you will know one small action you can start this week with exactly $100 that most people with 10 times your income will never figure out. Let me tell you about a man I will call David. David was 34. He had a decent job. He earned about $52,000 a year, which in most parts of the world puts you solidly in the middle class. David did everything the financial magazines told him to do. He opened a savings account. He read about the stock market. He cut out his morning coffee twice a week. He even downloaded a budgeting app. By the time David was 44, he had managed to save a little over $11,000. A decade of discipline. $11,000. That number should bother you. The problem was not David's effort. The problem was the model David used. He believed that saving money meant spending less first and saving whatever was left. That is the wrong equation. What was left was always close to nothing, because life has a way of using every dollar you leave unguarded. 10 years went by, and David had almost nothing to show for it. The cost of using the wrong model is not small. In David's case, it was roughly 240 months of income minus $11,000. The cost was his 40s. Now sit with that for a second. There is a woman I will call Sandra. Sandra earned $38,000 a year, less than David. She worked in a school. She had 2 kids. She had no financial education to speak of. But when she was 29, someone showed her one rule, not a system, not a course, one rule. By the time Sandra was 52, she had just over $210,000 in an index fund. The difference between David and Sandra was not income. It was not intelligence. It was not luck. It was the order in which they moved their money. The model that failed David is the model most people use. Earn money, pay bills, spend, save what's left. The model that saved Sandra runs in the opposite direction. Earn money, move $100 before you touch anything else. Then pay bills, then live on what remains. The savings move happens first, always, not when it is convenient, first. That inversion is the entire secret, not 100 secrets. 1. I have spent decades watching people make money and watching people build wealth, and I can tell you those are 2 completely different activities. Making money is a job skill. Building wealth is a behavioral skill. And behavioral skills are not learned from information. They are built from systems. A system that runs automatically before your brain has a chance to override it is worth more than 20 years of good intentions. The framework I am going to walk you through today has 3 parts. Each part is simple enough to write on the back of a receipt, but together they form the structure that has built quiet wealth for ordinary people across every income level I have ever studied. The first part is the $100 rule, not 90, not 150, 100. I have heard the objection 1,000 times, and I will give it to you right now before you say it. You are going to tell me that $100 a month is nothing, that at your age, with your bills, $100 will not do anything meaningful. You are wrong, and I will show you why with math. not motivation. A woman I will call Maria started putting $100 a month into a low-cost index fund at age 27. She never increased the amount. She never picked a single stock. She did nothing fancy. She just let the money sit in a fund that tracks the broad market and has returned roughly 7% on average over long stretches of time. By the time Maria was 67, she had put in $48,000 of her own money. But her account held just over $262,000. She put in $48,000. She ended up with $262,000. That gap, that $214,000 she never actually earned, is what money that makes more money looks like in real life. Most people never see that number because they never start. Now here is the contrast. A man I will call Patrick decided at 45 that he needed to get serious. He started putting $500 a month into the same kind of fund. He was putting in 5 times what Maria put in every single month. He worked hard. He was disciplined. By age 67, he had put in $132,000 of his own money. His account held just over $234,000. Patrick put in more money, more per month, started with more urgency, and ended up with less than Maria. $28,000 less. Not because he was lazy, because he started 18 years late. Time does more work than dollars. That is the math. That is the lesson. The objection people raise next is always about bills. I understand it. $100 feels impossible when rent is due and the car needs work and the kids need shoes. So I will tell you exactly what to do about that. You do not find $100 in your existing budget. You automate the $100 out of your paycheck before your budget even starts. You set up an automatic transfer on the same day your paycheck hits your account. The money moves before you see it, before you spend it, before your brain decides it needs something. You do not feel the loss of money you never touched. That is not a trick. That is how Sandra did it on a teacher's salary with 2 kids. So the first step in your life this week is to open a brokerage account if you do not already have one. Set up an automatic transfer of $100 on payday and put it into a fund that tracks the broad market. Not next month, this week. The hour you do it is the most important financial hour of the next 10 years of your life. The second part of the framework is what I call the percentage lock. Once the $100 is automated, most people think they are done. They are not. The percentage lock means you decide today what percentage of every raise, every bonus, every extra dollar you ever earn will go directly into that account before you ever adjust your lifestyle. The number I recommend is 50% of every increase, not all of it, half. Here is why the percentage matters more than the amount. Human beings adapt to income. When you earn more, you spend more. It happens so naturally that most people do not even notice it. A man I will call Tom got a $4,000 a year raise when he was 38. He was genuinely excited. He told himself he would save most of it. Within 6 months, his spending had risen by $3,700 a year, and he was saving $300 more per year than before. He got a $4,000 raise and kept $300 of it. Tom is not unusual. Tom is normal. The percentage lock stops that from happening by making the decision before the raise arrives, before you know what it feels like to have extra money, before your brain starts generating ideas for how to use it. You decide today that 50% of every increase in income goes into the wealth account. When the raise comes, you do not deliberate. The rule is already set. You live on the other 50% and you do not apologize for spending it. You earned it. But the first 50% belongs to the future you who will need options. The arithmetic here is quiet but powerful. Take someone who earns $40,000 a year at 30 and gets a 2% raise every year for 20 years. If they apply the 50% lock to each raise, they will be adding roughly an additional $90 per month to their wealth account by year 10 and around $200 extra per month by year 20 on top of the original 100. Without the lock, those raises disappear into lifestyle. With the lock, they stack quietly. Automatically, the stack is the point. The objection to the percentage lock is always this: I deserve to enjoy my raises. And you are right. That is exactly why the rule is 50%, not 100. You get to enjoy half of every raise immediately. The new restaurant, the slightly better apartment, the vacation you have been putting off, all of that is still available to you. The lock just ensures that the future you does not get robbed every time the present you gets a raise. Both versions of you get something. That is the deal. So the second step in your life this week is to write down one sentence on a piece of paper. It can say, 50% of every raise and every bonus I receive will go to my wealth account before I adjust my lifestyle. Put that paper somewhere you will see it, not on your phone, a real piece of paper, in a drawer, in your wallet, somewhere physical. You are writing a contract with your future self. That contract is worth more than any single investment you will ever make. The third part of the framework is what I call the cost audit. One time a year, not monthly, not weekly, once a year, you sit down and look at every recurring charge on your accounts. Every subscription, every membership, every automatic renewal. You ask one question about each one: did I use this in the last 90 days? Not, do I plan to use this? Not, is this a go? Odd deal. Did I actually use it in the last 90 days? If the answer is no, you cancel it today. The average American household spends just over $230 a month on subscriptions they rarely or never use. That number comes from research that surprised even me when I first read it. $230. Most people have no idea. If you freed up even half of that, you would have a second $115 monthly contribution to your wealth account. And you would not feel the loss. You cannot miss what you were not using. A couple I will call James and Lynn did their first cost audit at age 41. They found 11 subscriptions they had either forgotten about or stopped using. The total was $174 a month. They canceled 9 of them. They kept 2 they still used. They redirected $142 per month into their wealth account. Over the next 15 years, that $142 per month, at 7% average return, became just over $46,000. They did not earn any extra money. They did not work harder. They did not take on a side hustle. They just stopped paying for things they were not using, and they let that money build instead. The objection to the cost audit is usually time. People say they do not have time to go through all their accounts. I have sat with that objection for a long time, and I have no patience for it. The cost audit takes 90 minutes. 90 minutes once a year to find and redirect money you are already losing. If 90 minutes is not worth $46,000 to you, I do not know what to tell you. Do it anyway. Set a date. Put it on the calendar. Call it the annual financial review if that sounds more serious. But do the 90 minutes. So the third step in your life this week is to open your bank account and your credit card statements from the last 3 months. Look at every recurring charge. Write them down. Ask the 90-day question. Cancel what you have not used. Redirect whatever you find into the wealth account. That is the entire action. It will take less time than most people spend arguing about money with themselves. Now I need to talk to you about the part where most people fail, not because they picked the wrong fund or the wrong rule, because of something that happens in the human brain about 4 to 7 months into any new financial habit. You will have a month where something goes wrong. The car, the medical bill, the heating unit, some expense that feels enormous and urgent and impossible to ignore. In that month, your brain will generate a very reasonable-sounding argument. The argument will go like this: just skip this month, just this once. You can double up next month to make up for it. It sounds responsible. It sounds like flexibility. It is a trap. The reason it is a trap is not about the money you lose that month. It is about the permission you give yourself to break the system. Once you break it once for a good reason, you will break it a second time for a slightly less good reason, and a third time for a reason that does not hold up at all. And within 18 months, the system does not exist anymore. You are back to saving what is left, which is nothing. The structural fix is simple, and it is not willpower. Do not give yourself the option to skip. Set the automatic transfer so that it cannot easily be reversed without deliberate multi-step effort. Put the account at a different bank than your checking account so that moving the money back requires thought, time, and inconvenience. Put a small friction between you and the cancel button. That friction will save you more money than any raise you ever get. Human beings do not fail financial systems because they are lazy or weak. They fail them because the systems are too easy to quit. Make the quit hard. Keep the start easy. And then there is the emotional side, which is harder to talk about but more important. There will be a month where a friend buys a new car and you feel behind. There will be a dinner where someone mentions their renovation and you feel small. The comparison feeling is real and it is painful, and no financial rule makes it go away. What I can tell you is this: the people at that dinner who are showing the most are often the ones with the least security behind the scenes. I have seen it too many times to count. The expensive car and the empty account, the renovated kitchen and the credit card that does not get paid off. What you are building cannot be seen at dinner. It cannot be photographed. It does not arrive in a story anyone tells at a party, but it will be there when you need it. And the day you need it, all of it, every boring automated transfer, will feel like the most important decision you ever made. Bring this all the way back to what we started with. David earned more than Sandra. He worked harder at saving. He read more. He tried more things, and he ended up with $11,000 after a decade. Sandra used one rule, one automatic transfer, and never made more than $38,000 a year. She ended up with over $200,000. The difference was the system, not the effort, not the income, the system. These three things, the $100 rule, the percentage lock, the cost audit, are not complex. They are boring, that is the point. Wealth built on boring systems lasts. Wealth built on excitement evaporates. The market will do things that terrify you. The economy will have bad years. You will have bad years. The system does not care, it keeps moving. And in 20 years, if you let it, the system will have built something that no one can take from you: options. The option to leave a job you hate. The option to help someone who needs it. The option to stop trading hours for money because the money is already working. That is what $100 a month actually buys. Not a vacation, not a car, not a stock tip. It buys the slow, invisible, completely unglamorous thing that only shows up decades later. It buys freedom. And freedom, at the end of things, is the only number that matters. You spent the better part of an hour here and that time belongs to you. That matters. The next video on this channel covers what to do in the years when the market drops 30% and how the people who did nothing made more than the people who tried to be smart. It builds directly on everything we just covered. Hit subscribe because the work is just beginning. This is not content. This is a discipline, and disciplines require community to survive. Keep going.